What's going on YouTube? Hope you are all doing well. Today is Monday and on Sunday this week I will be competing at the Haynes Farm Open. So what I wanted to do was shoot a little bit of video today to talk about what I'm going to be doing this week, but also reflections on the last couple of training sessions and the prep as a whole. So to bring you up to speed and to input the footage there so we're all caught up, on Friday I did a heavy mock-up run through of what would be the keg run at Haynes Farm Open. I did that utilising one keg and 3 heavy sandbags, 111 kilos, 130-ish and around 145-ish kilo sandbags, and a 100 kilo keg. So I ran those to comp distance, loading at a fair height. Happy with those, just picking up heavy implements and moving. I ran that at like an RPE 7 type pace, so I wasn't looking at trying to be as fast as possible. I was looking to just build confidence, load all 4 implements and just feel good about that event now, which I definitely do, and I'm excited to get stuck into that, knock a lot of seconds off that time. That was 4 implements in 42 seconds. If I can beat that time on the day, then I'll be really happy. Obviously the pickups of the sandbags are significantly more, not necessarily harder, they're just slower as the movement's different, laying the sandbag over and getting your hands underneath. The keg pickup should be quicker. However, all of the implements at the comp are also 10 kilos heavier, and it's the last event of the day. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And then the final session of prep, the final intense session of prep was yesterday. So I got an opportunity yesterday to go and compete at the truck pull, the Man Beast truck pull, which was at Truck Fest. Having never been to Truck Fest before, I was absolutely blown away. I was expecting a couple hundred trucks. I wasn't expecting 3,500 fucking lorries. I have never seen so many trucks in my life. Very, very cool, very impressive. Took my little man, he had a great day, and it was a good opportunity to get in a harness with a front rope and practice some skill. So that was really good. I treated it as a training day, but it still needed to be an intense training day, which basically meant full sends on every event. There was 3 events. There was an 8-ton truck pull, an 8-ton truck push, and then a 16-ton truck pull, which is 2 trucks tied together. All sounds very heavy and impressive, but the reality of it with truck pulling is it isn't that heavy. It's a skill and speed event, which is tricky when you don't get many opportunities to really train it. When I pulled that 8-ton truck for the first event, that was technically the second time I've ever fully sent a truck, and I think my 4th ever truck pull. I'd done maybe fifth. I'd done testing for trucks on an open day, a training day, and then Lincolnshire's Most Powerful last year. And then I fully sent a truck at Boston Strongest last year as well. So that was the second time I've ever done a trucking competition, and the 5th time pulling a truck per se. Obviously I've done lots of harness pulls in the gym. They really don't replicate the same as their bear crawls, and it's just more strength based, more so than the same concept or technique as an actual vehicle pull. Either way, really enjoyed it. It was nice to be able to spend time looking at it more from a technical point of view. Managed to place 2nd overall on the day as well, which was fantastic. Got beat by a really nice gentleman, really friendly guy, and someone that's been on the Man Beast circuit for a while. And his best event is vehicle pulling, and he was the perfect balance of strength and technique, where I was just strength, and then the gentleman who came 3rd was technique, all technique, significantly lighter than me and the gentleman that came 1st, but fantastic in terms of positioning and body angle and so on, something I desperately need to work on. But great to get in on that and get some extra pulls in and have a final intense training session in a great atmosphere, and get that little competing vibe again, that little bit of a competitive edge. You know, I was sat in 1st place after everyone had gone, bar the Eastern European gentleman who went last on the 1st event, and it was nice to have that feeling of like, there's that door. That's when we talk about staying in your own lane. Me staying in my own lane on that day is just about feeling things out, finding out positioning, trialing things, and just paying attention to technique. That's me staying in my lane. I didn't really care so much what anyone else did or where I placed. And then naturally, off the back of that, we see that the door presents itself. And when the door presents itself, we do our best to walk through it. So, once I was aware that I was like consistently second, that was then like, what do I need to do to try and get into first? So you start to push that a little bit harder to be more competitive with the guy that was winning. Couldn't get anywhere near him though, but fucking tried. I actually snapped a harness as well, which I felt like was a personal best achievement. That's something I've never done. I've snapped a rope in the gym as well, sled pulling 400 kilo, but snapping a harness is a new one. To be honest, let's be real about it. Like, yeah, you've got to be strong to snap a harness, but at the same time, the harness was probably weakened or something at some point, or had some frays in it. I don't know. But either way, everyone seemed pretty impressed, so I was happy with that. The biggest highlight of the day, however, was being approached by Mark, who runs Man Beast, and being invited to compete at some of their competitions, as they run invitational only competitions. They sort of scout athletes to compete at those. So that was pretty cool. And it's just nice to get recognised for your efforts, and reinstill some confidence. So that's really cool, and will be something I'm looking to pursue most likely next year, as the two comps they've got coming up clash with Boston's and Hampshire's, and I'm mentally locked into those, and I don't really want to be pulling away from those just now. So I want to be locked in on them. I've got goals on them. My eyes are set on them. But then next year, I've got a bit of a penciled in plan, with a big gap, and that big gap could be filled with some Man Beast comps, so I might be looking at doing some then. But yeah, an awesome training day. Just signed, sealed, delivered, locked the prep off, and just finished everything off nicely. So leaving me this week to now recover from that session. I am a little bit sore, as you'd expect. I'm also sore from some of the training from last week as well, and I just need to catch up and recover. And I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm just chilling this week. I've got set myself a little micro goal of having a nap every single day this week, other than Saturday and of course Sunday. So today, once I finish my check-ins and my work, I'm going to go home and catch a 20-minute nap before having a busy afternoon, no doubt, with the family, as it's bank holiday. What else did I need to update you guys on? You're already familiar with the plan for Haynes in terms of what I'm planning on executing on each lift and each attempt. And the main thing is just to have fun and stay in my lane all day. On Wednesday this week, I will be going to see Daryl, my MMA coach. In fact, what I'll do is I'll insert some of the footage from what I did on Wednesday now. It's like a foresight into the future. How cool. So this is what I did on Wednesday. I have no idea right now what I did on Wednesday. Hopefully I'm there doing it and having a good time. Or not having a good time and getting the shit beaten out of me. But this is what we did on Wednesday. So I really like to use my MMA training as a means of blowing off some steam and knocking some soreness off and getting moving, and also touching on a little bit of conditioning the week before competition. It's a really, really fantastic way of doing that. It's great for mobility, and get some blood flow going, and it's super low impact really, although obviously you're throwing some big shots and whatever. It is, in the grand scheme of things, very low impact, and I've been doing it for long enough now where I don't have that fear of injury like people would expect, where it's like, oh, what happens if you throw a kick and your fucking quad tendon snaps, or you throw a shot and your bicep tendon snaps. It's not really something I worry about anymore, because I've been doing it for a while. My body's adapted to it fairly well. So yeah, tick that off, come back to the gym, and then get a little bit of a pump, do some mobility and stretching, and then I'll do some more mobility and stretching on Friday, and that's me. I won't do a lot else. A lot of people require a little bit of events the week before comp, sometimes at like 65% or less. That's not something I do. Realistically, if I feel like I need that the week before competition, it means that I'm underconfident, and it means that prep hasn't gone well. Which almost arguably could be the case with this, but actually I'm going into competition with the mindset that I've got and the approach that I'm having to the comp. I'm actually very, very excited, and I feel, as prepared as I'm going to be honest with you. There isn't anything that I'm now worried about. I think if I was fixated on doing the axle overhead press after pressing the log, then yeah, there would be an element of desperation, and I probably would be doing axle cleans this week to try and build more confidence and ingrain technique, but that's not the plan, so there's no pressure with that there. The mystery event, we obviously have no idea what it is. The loading I'm confident with, the deadlift I'm confident with, and the vehicle pull I'm very confident with because I literally did it yesterday. So everything's actually in quite a good spot, and I'm as ready as I'm going to be, to be honest with you. I'm not at my best, no, but I'm not a million miles off. I'm nowhere near as bad as I thought I was going to be at this point. So reflecting on the prep as a whole, and I think it's really, oops, just booted the camera. I think it's really important that we talk about this, as I think it's safe to say that those of you who've been following along will have seen the whole prep as ropey, to say the least. It's the most valuable prep for comp I think I've ever had, in terms of learning things about me, from like knee health to mindset, training strategies, coaching strategies, confidence, all sorts of things. There's been so much in this that's been really valuable, but the main point of reflection, and the thing I think is the biggest take home for any of you watching this now, is that oftentimes when things aren't going well, the first thing that people jump to is that it's a waste of time, because in the expanse of time where you're, you know, injured, ill, or just like I was, things just aren't going very well, off the back of those things, or whatever it may be, that time always feels like time wasted, like you're spinning your wheels. But actually, if you have the ability to center yourself a little bit and take emotion out, some of your most valuable lessons are learned when things are going wrong. And oftentimes we know this, but actually really fucking knowing it and being able to experience it and learn from it, they're so valuable. They're so valuable. The things I've taken away from this prep, the list is absolutely huge. Like, I have to continually write stuff down so I don't forget certain elements of how I think and how I feel, helping me understand expanse of time, dealing with injury, dealing with illness, patience, communication, coaching styles. There's been so much stuff in the mix that's been super valuable. And it would be really silly of me just to get overly emotional and be like, oh, it was just shit, mate. Just a shit prep, mate. Because it wasn't shit. You know, the prep was good in the sense that out of all of the preps I've done, you know, it wasn't the most enjoyable, wasn't the smoothest, wasn't the most progressive in terms of strength, but the most valuable in terms of a stepping stone on with a stepping stone in my journey as a strongman, if you like. And I think a lot of people miss out on those learning opportunities. You know, those learning opportunities don't just come with prep. They're on the competition day as well. Things go well, you can learn a bit from it. Things go really badly, you can learn a fuck ton from it. You know, even if, like, for example, with the harness on Sunday, the harness snapped. Like, that's not my fault. That's not anything that I've done in training. That's not, you know, anyone else's fault. It's just unlucky. It happens. The same if you're, like I did at Boston's, you know, you have an accident, you have a freak accident, something happens. In some circumstances, there's an element of take home. In circumstances like the truck pull yesterday when the harness snapped, the only thing that's really valuable with that is how I respond to it and coping with, you know, falling over in front of everyone, having to go again and commit to the harness for the second time, knowing that you could snap another one. Those moments are really valuable because they're experiences that, you know, I didn't even feel phased because that's happened to me. Stuff like that has happened to me in competitions before. But when you're experiencing all of that stuff for the first time, it can feel like a lot. And if we hyperfixate on how embarrassed you are, or how frustrated you are, or how that set you up badly for the next event, or whatever it may be, we're losing out on the opportunity to learn, and go, okay, like, grand scheme of things, could I have changed anything to stop that from happening? In the case of a harness snapping, no, you can't. So that, like, in itself is super valuable. Whereas, like, we look at Boston's, where I ran straight into the skip there, carrying a keg. That was because I didn't train it well enough and I wasn't prepared enough. Because although I was training and running with kegs in training, I was so fixated on conditioning and cardio that I didn't practice loading the kegs and lifting them at the end of each run. So my proprioception there wasn't on point, and I ended up lifting it too late and crashed into the skip, which is horrendous, and was difficult and was embarrassing and did create a state of panic. But again, like I look back on that, and even in the moment, my ability to calm down, center myself and get back to work, managed to get myself back on the podium even after coming second to last in that event. I was so proud of that. And then also in terms of reflection, there's so much value in that moment. And to be honest, it's the bit that I talk about and think about the most in terms of that competition, because it was the most valuable moment. Which is awesome, and that's going to be the stuff that gets you better as an athlete. If you're just in it for all of the glory and you're doing it because you think it makes you look cool, and you're desperately emphasizing on placings and podiums and all of that sort of stuff, this sport will chew you up and spit you out. You are not mentally prepared for what that's going to do to you. Whereas if you have the ability to either work with a coach that's going to help you see the light, or you have the ability to see the light yourself, then not if, but when things go wrong, you will have the ability to navigate those, learn from them and excel as an athlete. And that's really what I've been reminded of so much over the last 4 months. And like I said, it's everything from training to competing, and day-to-day life, all these things. So many valuable lessons, so many things going wrong, so many things going right, and being able to analyze them properly and learn from them has been an absolute game changer for me. And what that means now is there's a huge element of excitement in me to be able to push on. Haynes now feels like a positive stepping stone into the rest of the year. I'm excited to go and rip it up at Boston's. I'm excited to go and do my absolute best at Hampshire's. I have no idea the calibre of lads I'm really competing against at Hampshire's. I've not looked at the list, and I don't really care. Boston's, the list isn't very big, and I'm familiar with most of the athletes, so we're just gonna have a good day there, and hopefully get amongst the boys and score some good points and see if we can't get the job done. But the most important thing for me now is and something I want to continue for the rest of my strongman career, is to stay in my own lane. Like, I was aware of this before. Pressure and delusion and a little bit of self-talk had distracted me from that, and now I come back to the where I'm at my best. Stay in my own lane, compete against me, beat my targets, work my hardest, be the best version of me I possibly can be. And for me, and this might sound a little bit arrogant, but when I do that, I am competitive, and when I am competitive, I generally do pretty damn well. Yesterday was testament to that. I rocked up to that truck pull having no idea, who I'd be pulling against. And there was some fucking brilliant lads there putting on a really, really good show. Me staying in my own lane, concentrating what I wanted to concentrate on. When that door presents itself, we try and walk through it, have a really good time doing it, and I landed myself in second place on the podium there. So let's see if we can do something similar this weekend and just stay in my own lane and enjoy it. I'm looking forward to taking you guys with me and filming it all. I'll be there on the Saturday coaching, and then competing and coaching technically on the Sunday, but pretty relaxed and just enjoying it. So yeah, till next time guys, peace, love and cake.